The ocean hides many secrets, but off the southern coast of Japan, beneath the turquoise waters near the island of Yonaguni, lies a mystery that has baffled divers, archaeologists, and scientists for decades. Massive stone terraces, perfect right angles, staircases carved into solid bedrock. Some say it's a natural formation, others believe it's the ruins of a lost civilization. This is not just a pile of rocks, this might be the oldest man-made monument on Earth, and it's underwater. So the question is simple: who built it, and what happened to them? It was 1986. Kiichiro Aratake, a local diver and tour operator in Yonaguni, was scouting for new dive spots when he stumbled upon something unexpected. While exploring the seabed near the southern tip of the island, he came across massive stone formations, flat surfaces, sharp edges, and what looked like steps cut into rock. At first, he thought it might be an ancient castle wall or perhaps a shipwreck, but it was too big, too symmetrical, too intentional. Word spread quickly. Soon, marine geologist Dr. Masaaki Kimura of the University of the Ryukyu began extensive dives at the site. He would spend the next 15 years studying the formation, mapping it, measuring it, and documenting every angle. What he found was astonishing. The structure stretched over 150 meters in length and 40 meters wide. Some of the stones rose more than 20 meters from the seabed in massive stacked terraces like a step pyramid sunk beneath the sea. Divers noted features like a main terrace, grand staircase, and even what appeared to be roads or channels cut into the rock. Some saw a resemblance to temples. Others claimed it looked like the stepped citadels of South America. The site quickly earned a nickname, the Atlantis of Japan, but just as quickly, the controversy began. What makes the Yonaguni Monument so puzzling isn't just its size, it's the shapes, the lines, the precision. Unlike natural reefs or underwater ridges, this site features geometric angles. Right angles, straight edges that span for meters. Imagine a giant stone staircase rising from the ocean floor, each step precisely 1 meter tall. Or a vast, flat platform, perfectly rectangular, as if carved by a massive chisel. Then there are the parallel channels, some 2 meters deep, cut through the rock like ancient drainage systems. Some divers describe them as avenues or corridors. These features don't seem random, they appear designed. Dr. Kimura believes it was a ceremonial complex, possibly built over 10,000 years ago. A megalithic temple created by a lost coastal civilization before sea levels rose. He's even identified what he calls a stage, road, gate, and symbol stone, suggesting cultural or religious use, but skeptics argue differently. They say these shapes could be the result of natural fracturing, that tectonic forces, earthquakes, and water erosion could break sandstone into blocky shapes, that the sea simply wore it down in straight lines. And yes, the Yonaguni Formation is made of sandstone, a rock known for breaking along plains. But still, some features remain difficult to explain. Why would nature carve sharp corners consistently over 100 meters? Even among geologists, the debate is far from settled. Too many, it feels less like geology and more like architecture. Can nature create the illusion of design? That's the heart of the debate surrounding Yonaguni. Many geologists argue that the formation is entirely natural, a product of tectonic uplift, sediment layering, and coastal erosion over thousands of years. They point to other places around the world where nature has sculpted geometric formations: the Giant's Causeway in Ireland, hexagonal basalt columns; the Pancake Rocks of New Zealand, perfectly stacked limestone; The bungles of Australia-layered sandstone domes. Could the Yonaguni Monument be another such anomaly? Critics explain that the rock in Yonaguni is sandstone, known for its tendency to fracture along horizontal and vertical planes. When exposed to tectonic pressure and ocean currents, this could result in blocky shapes, right angles, and stepped patterns. They also argue that people are prone to pattern recognition, seeing structure and meaning where none exists. A psychological phenomenon called pareidolia, but here's where the theory struggles. Why are the angles so consistent? Why do the cuts and trenches align with each other in multiple directions? Why do some sections look like platforms, doorways, or roads with proportions too precise to dismiss? One trench runs straight for over 20 meters, narrow and even. Another looks like a grand staircase, 10 steps, uniform height, each carved into the bedrock. Even erosion needs chaos. But Yonaguni seems orderly. That's why the debate hasn't ended. Because while erosion can mimic architecture, it rarely organizes it. Dive deeper into Yonaguni and the mystery gets stranger. On several of the megaliths, divers have reported seeing markings, carvings etched into the stone. Some resemble faces, others animals, a few even claim to see ancient symbols or writing. One diver described a humanoid profile worn but distinct, chiseled into the side of a vertical wall. Another photographed a slab featuring lines intersecting at angles like a pictograph or map. Then there's the turtle stone, a large boulder with what appears to be a carved shell pattern, perched neatly atop a platform, and the altar stone, a flat, elevated section surrounded by shallow trenches, as if once used for ceremony. Are these signs of human modification, or just the human mind searching for meaning? Dr. Kimura has argued that several of these features were deliberately enhanced, shaped, or finished by early humans. He points to tool marks, unnatural symmetry, and the positioning of certain blocks suggesting intention. But others remain unconvinced. No tools have been found, no pottery, no bones. No definitive artifacts that scream civilization, and yet many ancient cultures used stone architecture without leaving behind much else, especially if they lived near coastlines now submerged by rising seas. So, what if these carvings are real? What if they're relics from a time when the ocean floor was land, when the monument stood above water, watching the sun rise? What else might be buried deeper, unseen, and unexplored? Yonaguni doesn't offer answers, it offers riddles in stone. If the Yonaguni Monument was once above sea level, when did it sink? That question unlocks a larger mystery. How old could this structure be? Modern geological consensus estimates that sea levels began to rise rapidly around 10,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. Before that, large portions of continental shelf, including the region around Yonaguni, were dry land. Dr. Kimura and other proponents argue that if the structure was carved while exposed, it must be at least 10,000 years old, making it older than the pyramids of Egypt, older than Göbekli Tepe, perhaps one of the oldest known man-made structures on Earth, that would place its construction in the late Pleistocene, when humans were supposedly primitive hunter-gatherers, not architects of stone monuments. To support this idea, Kimura cites other submerged archaeological sites around the world. Dwarka in India, a possible sunken city with stone roads and walls lying beneath the Arabian Sea. Bimini Road in the Bahamas, underwater limestone blocks that resemble an ancient causeway. Pavlopetri in Greece, a confirmed sunken town dating back 5,000 years, are these isolated anomalies, or evidence of a forgotten chapter in human history? If sea level rise submerged Yonaguni, then humanity may have once inhabited a world vastly different from what we're taught, a world now hidden beneath the ocean. And if so, what else might lie beneath the waves? What if Japan had its own megalithic civilization long before recorded history? Mainstream Japanese history typically begins with the Jōmon period, starting around 14,000 BCE. The Jōmon people were known for their pottery, fishing villages, and deep connection to nature. But stone architecture, complex construction, that's never been part of the narrative, and yet the clues are scattered in various parts of Japan. Mysterious megaliths stand isolated and unexplained. The Ishibutai tomb in Asuka, built with stones weighing over 75 tons. The Masuda no Iwafuni, a massive carved rock structure with no known purpose or origin. Even Sanai Maruyama, a Jōmon site in northern Japan, shows surprising levels of planning and construction. Then there are the legends tales passed down for centuries. The myth of Raigje, the dragon palace beneath the sea, a glowing underwater realm ruled by an immortal princess, visited by humans who lose track of time. Or the goddess Amaterasu retreating into a cave, plunging the world into darkness until drawn out again, bringing light back to the world. Could these myths hold echoes of real events? Memories of cataclysms, migrations, and lost lands. In some Okinawan traditions, Yonaguni itself was once part of a larger island chain, home to a great kingdom that sank beneath the sea. Even the name Yonaguni can be interpreted as the island facing the setting sun, a poetic allusion to finality, disappearance, or endings. If the monument is real and it was man-made, then perhaps ancient Japan was far more advanced far earlier than anyone imagined, and perhaps it wasn't alone. Not all mysteries are unsolved because they are too complex. Some remain unanswered because no one is willing to ask the uncomfortable questions, and the Yonaguni Monument may be one such case. From the moment Dr. Masaaki Kimura presented the idea that the structure was man-made, he faced resistance not just from international academics, but from within Japan itself. The reaction was swift and often dismissive. Many geologists labeled the structure as nothing more than sandstone fractured by tectonic activity and shaped by ocean currents. Archaeologists dismissed it for lacking cultural artifacts, no tools, pottery, or bones. Historians waved it away, citing the lack of written records from the Jōmon period and beyond. But beneath this skepticism lies another layer, one that may be rooted not in evidence but in reluctance, because to accept the Yonaguni Monument as man-made would demand a rewriting of not just Japanese history but world history. It would mean acknowledging that highly advanced construction took place more than 10,000 years ago, long before the earliest known civilizations. That Japan, a nation often considered isolated in ancient times, might have once harbored an advanced coastal society capable of architectural feats we can scarcely explain. That notion challenges the timeline of human development, but why the resistance? Some suggest that academic institutions are wary of associating with fringe theories for fear of damaging credibility. Others point to the immense funding structures behind archaeology grants, reputations, and careers that depend on preserving the established timeline. A discovery like Yonaguni doesn't fit the puzzle. It breaks the frame. There's also a cultural factor. In Japan, academic tradition is highly hierarchical. Young researchers rarely challenge established scholars, and few dare to stray from mainstream consensus. Controversial ideas, especially ones without full institutional backing, are seen as risky at best and career-ending at worst. Then there's the political layer. Some theorists suggest that revealing a massive, ancient monument could disrupt tourism or maritime claims, especially if it supports ideas of ancient transoceanic cultures or challenges post-war archaeological identity. And so, the monument sits ignored by some, denied by others, yet outside the halls of academia, interest in Yonaguni grows. Independent divers, alternative researchers, even amateur archaeologists who meticulously document the monument using 3D scanning and drone sonar. In recent years, new sonar mapping has revealed even more formations, nearby structures that seem to follow patterns, alignments, even potential roadways submerged deep under the Ryukyu Trench. Could Yonaguni be just one structure in a much larger sunken complex? If true, we may be standing at the edge of an entire underwater city buried not just by the sea but by silence. So is Yonaguni being actively suppressed? Or simply ignored because it doesn't fit? In either case, the result is the same. A potentially groundbreaking discovery remains without serious investigation, relegated to the margins of pseudoscience. But what if history's greatest error is not what we failed to find, but what we refused to see? What does it mean if the Yonaguni Monument is truly man-made? The implications are staggering, far beyond a single site. It would mean that thousands of years before Sumer, Egypt, or the Indus Valley, human beings were shaping megalithic structures. In stone, carving platforms, erecting altars, aligning corridors with the sun and stars. And doing so with an understanding of geometry, engineering, and possibly cosmology. It would mean that coastal civilizations now swallowed by rising seas once flourished across the globe, from India's Gulf of Comet, where sonar scans revealed submerged structures and fossilized tools, to the mysterious ruins off the coast of Cuba lying 700 meters underwater, to the Bimini Road in the Atlantic, where uniform stone slabs lie beneath crystalline waters. Could these be remnants of a shared knowledge? A lost epoch of prehistory, when humans understood the sea not as a barrier but as a highway. It would also raise deeper questions about memory, how cultures remember, how myths preserve. Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria, Reich J. Names we've long dismissed as fantasy, but what if these legends are distorted echoes of real places, of real losses? In ancient Japan, myths speak of a time before time when the gods walked the earth and light lived in caves. Could this be metaphor or memory? Perhaps our ancestors watched their cities drown one tide at a time. Perhaps they passed down warnings encoded as stories, and perhaps we forgot. Yonaguni, then, is not just a structure. It is a key to a chapter of human history we never knew existed. A reminder that what lies beneath the surface of the ocean of the past can change everything, because if civilization rose once, long before we believed possible, then maybe it can fall again, or maybe the sea is still hiding secrets and Yonaguni is only the beginning. Beneath the waves of Japan, a monument sleeps. Not forgotten, but waiting. Waiting for curious minds. For brave questions? For those willing to dive beneath the timeline we've been told and into the history we've never seen. The ocean remembers, do we?